On February 8th, Hartford was the scene of a well-attended and entertaining climate march. Its first stop was at Eversource headquarters. Eversource is the biggest electric power utility in the state of Connecticut. The demonstration began with street theater. A young man posed as an Eversource spokesperson.
Climate justice now! I would like you to know that actually we have increased our consumer base, hundreds of thousands of new customers addicted to fracked gas. Yes, and we've extended pipelines by hundreds of miles. So the dirty, yes, boo to short pipelines, yay to long ones. That's right, I'm with you. So the fossil fuel infrastructure that we at Eversource are investing in and profiting from is here to stay. Hooray! Yes, thank you. Yes.
Chris Bronson, the news.
Yes.
Just a couple of quick questions.
All right.
How do you respond to reports that you and Eversource have been shutting off power to vulnerable customers during this extremely cold winter weather?
Yeah! Hold on, do I look like a man who would cut off power to poor people in the middle of winter during a global pandemic?
Yes, you do.
Well, first of all, I will assure you that I nor any executives here have shut off power. Yeah. We have underlings who shut off the power at poor people's houses. We don't want to get our hands dirty. That's why I have these gloves. Keep the hands clean. And if poor people don't learn their lesson, they'll never stop being poor. Yes, boo to poverty. Love this crowd. Yes? Anything else?
Yes, I have a question.
Oh.
What about the climate chaos that you and Eversource are causing by prolonging our dependence on fossil fuels? Don't you feel that energy companies should be leading the way on transitioning us to a future of sustainable and renewable energy?
Hear, hear! Oh, yes, see the crowd's on my side now. Listen, here at Energy Eversource, our primary responsibility is to our shareholders, which, as I've said before, we're making a lot of money for, yes. The only thing I listen to is the profit motive. Oh, hold on, what's that? Oh, it's the profit motive. They're calling and they said, oh, good job, you're rich, my friend. So there.
Final question, Dr. Frankenstein.
Better be final.
It will be. How do you respond to reports of a growing grassroots movement which is set to call out your lies and deception and pressure government officials to implement a fair energy policy and end our dependence on fossil fuels and the havoc they wreak?
My silly little man, they'll never stop us. Listen, in order for that to happen, citizens from this area would have to get together. They'd have to form some kind of a campaign and demand these things publicly. And I tell you, there's no chance that these people would come out of their houses, get together, and demand justice. It's just not going to happen. Or my name isn't Dr. Frankenstein. I mean, look at this town. They couldn't even chant if they wanted to.
They couldn't chant if they wanted to.
No, they couldn't.
Yeah, we could. Come on. Climate justice now!
Climate justice now! Climate justice now!
No, don't listen to
Climate justice now!
You're right.
Climate justice now!
I'm getting
Climate justice now! 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 Climate justice now!
Climate justice now!
Climate justice now! Climate justice now! Climate justice now!
Climate justice now!
Climate justice now!
Yes!
Climate justice now! Climate justice now!
Climate justice now!
Climate justice now! Climate justice now!
Hello everyone! To everyone here today, I'm Simran from the City Coalition for Environmental and Economic Justice. To the people in Connecticut here are freezing to death or dying of heat in summer due to Eversource policy of shutting off power for non-payment in any type of weather. I confirmed this week that they are shutting off consumers' power during the cold snap. Other Eversource customers are not eating or worry about being evicted because of the exorbitant electric bills they have to pay. The most vulnerable families in cities, especially the BIPOC communities, are suffering as a result of a corporate state nexus that creates increased profits for shareholders in the energy sector while energy prices in cities soar. Power shuts off double, and methane leaks into the atmosphere is destroying our climate.
Yes.
Well, everything Eversource says is a lie.
Yes. Yep.
Eversource claims to want to decarbonize the energy economy. Well, that's a lie. They are actively fighting the move to electrification and planning to expand fracking gas infrastructure. Eversource claims that methane is low carbon and cleaner and greener than coal and oil.
Baloney.
Well, that's a lie.
It's a lie.
Eversource lies about the severity of methane leaks, which are vast. Again, Eversource claims they don't have enough methane, and since we don't have bigger pipelines, we might have rolling blackouts. That's a lie, Eversource. It's a lie.
It's a lie.
Eversource claims to be concerned about low-income people. That's a lie.
That's a lie.
Black, indigenous, and people of color pay larger percentages of their income to energy costs than society at large. This is largely due to the substandard, older, and energy-inefficient housing stock where they live. Many are on fixed incomes and can't keep up with the rising energy costs they cannot control. In addition, employment rates are at record levels. As such, we are disproportionately impacted by Eversource shut-off policies, which are inhumane.
Yes.
Well, finally, Eversource business model is racist. It's not by design, then in practice. Low-wealth families who struggle to pay their electric bill are much more likely to be people of color than white in Connecticut.
Preach.
Eversource plunders our economy, harming low-income and people of color, using ratepayer money to worsen the climate and the public's health.
Yes.
With predatory disregard for future consequences in order to enhance their immediate profits.
Right.
Eversource must stop expanding methane use immediately and should apply to Pura for low-income rates. That would help the people they have harmed the most, stop the energy injustice, energy democracy now!
Yes.
Eversource, take action! Thank you so much!
Fossil fuels have run their course. Pull the plug on Eversource. Fossil fuels have run their course. Pull the plug on Eversource. Fossil fuels have run their course. Pull the plug on Eversource. Fossil fuels have run their course. Pull the plug on Eversource. Fossil fuels have run their course. Pull the plug on Eversource. All right, who's ready to head to Travelers?
The next stop was the Travelers Insurance Company building. When we show scenes of the march, you'll notice that many carried red umbrellas, the emblem of the Travelers Company.
You know, when your house is on fire, as our Earth literally is, from California to Siberia, the last thing that you want to do is pour additional fuel on it. And yet, that is exactly the agenda of the fossil fuel industry. Although research shows our carbon budget cannot afford a single new piece of fossil fuel infrastructure, companies like Eversource are continuing to build new coal-fired power plants, tar sands pipelines, fracked gas wells, and other infrastructure. What does insurance have to do with this? Well, you can't drive a car or buy a house without insurance. And it's the same deal for fossil fuel companies. Every single new fossil fuel project needs adequate insurance to be built, and existing projects need insurance to continue operating. So that brings us to Travelers Insurance. We are currently outside the largest office of Travelers in the world. And they're clearly expecting us. Thank you for this nice caution tape decoration. Yeah, instead of taking caution in the face of the climate crisis, they're protecting themselves against activists. Those of us that are taking a stand against their greedy business practices. So for those of you that don't know, Travelers is a top 3 oil and gas insurer in the entire world. They also invest billions in fossil fuels. But I have some good news today. So thanks to all of our collective action and persistence, they are starting to move on climate. So just yesterday, the news broke that Travelers had adopted a policy that limited insurance for coal and tar sands projects and companies. Yeah. This is the direct result of all of you emailing and calling Travelers, marching outside this exact office, disrupting its annual golf tournament year after year. Yeah, can we make some noise for everyone that has been pushing Travelers? Yeah, and a special shout out to the folks at Connecticut Citizen Action Group and Sierra Club Connecticut that have been campaigning on them for years. Angel and Helen and Sam and Dan. So we want to welcome this move. Applaud Travelers for taking this step. But unfortunately, as it often goes with these corporate climate commitments, it is far from enough.
Yes.
So we are here today to demand that Travelers actually scale up its ambition and be a leader. Now is not the time for half measures. We need urgent, strong action. So to break that down a little bit, Travelers policy does not touch oil and gas besides tar sands, which is just a very, very, very small part of kind of the oil and gas proposed around the globe. So they need to stop insuring all new oil and gas projects. One particular sector that they also haven't done anything on is oil and gas drilling in the Arctic. While 9 insurers have ruled out insuring Arctic drilling in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, Travelers has refused to do so and continues to ignore meeting requests from the Gwich'in Steering Committee, who have written to them multiple times detailing the impacts of oil and gas drilling to their traditional ways of being, traditional culture and livelihoods in the Arctic. So there's more to be done. One other piece of Travelers policy says that they're not going to cut off existing contracts to coal and tar sands companies until 2030. 2030! Can you believe that? So, as we all collectively work to transform Connecticut in the face of environmental and economic crises, you know, we ought to be thinking about our connections to the global economy and what companies headquartered right here in Connecticut are funding and insuring beyond the state's borders. So in that spirit, let's send a powerful message to Travelers. I'm going to try out a chant, which goes like this. Travelers, Travelers, you can't hide. We can see your greedy side.
Travelers, Travelers, you can't hide. We can see your greedy side.
Travelers, Travelers,
you can't hide. We can see your greedy side.
Travelers, Travelers, you can't hide. We can see your greedy side. Travelers, Travelers, you can't hide. We can see your greedy side.
Travelers, Travelers, you can't hide. We can see your greedy side.
Our next stop is going to be the University of Connecticut. And before we head over there, we wanted to introduce you to somebody. So this guy here is named Andy Bissett, and he is a top executive here at Travelers in Connecticut. And he's also on the board of UCONN. And he and other Travelers executives like CEO Alan Schnitzer can literally make the decision overnight to stop Travelers from insuring fossil fuel projects. And yet, you know, they continue with business as usual, enriching themselves and, you know, ensuring that the world burns. So, we're gonna march over to UCONN and you know, Andy, Bissett, wherever you are, we are calling on you to take action. There are 50 masks of yours out there. We know who you are, and we urge you to step up and make Travelers a climate leader.
Then on to the University of Connecticut branch in Hartford.
Very good.
He's pretty good.
Hey, hey, what do you know? Fossil fuels have got to go.
You might know me from my charitable works fighting poverty, and I also run a few local orphanages. But right now I'm here to give you the opportunity of a lifetime. Are the bills piling up? Are you wondering how you're going to pay for tuition next semester? Oh, yeah. Everyone can use a little extra money in these hard times, and I am here to give you the opportunity of a lifetime. Let me just tell you though, you should make your money the way that billionaires make their money, by investing in fossil fuel. That's right. If you're interested, talk to me. I can get you on the ground floor. Are you interested, sir? Who's interested?
Climate action, yay! Let's do it for climate action! All right! You guys look great!
Hello everyone! So I'm a UConn student. We're obviously right here at UConn right now. Over at UConn stores, I'm involved in Fridays for Future.
Alright!
Yeah, and something we've been pushing for over there is divestment, which some of you might be familiar with. We've been in communication with the UConn administration about divesting from fossil fuels, and even the military-industrial complex. And they haven't been transparent at all. We've got multiple emails from different board of trustees saying different things, and we demand transparency from the UConn administration. And yeah, apart from that, we've been pushing for more sustainable efforts at UConn. The board of trustees, there's multiple members with connections to the fossil fuel industry, the insurance industry, and reforming the university to make it a more equitable place in terms of leadership and structure. And with many universities around the country already having divested from fossil fuels, it's high time UConn does the same. And moreover, with deep ties to corporations like Sikorsky and Electric Boat, UConn also plays a central role in the destruction of our planet through imperialism. That's sure. Emitting more carbon dioxide than entire countries, the US military not only destroys our planet, it also powers US colonialism abroad. Our endless wars in the name of freedom, but in reality, for oil and fossil fuels, have beginnings right here in Connecticut. It's time to stand up to the devastating system. And also, I'd like to touch on the intersections between climate change, racism, and class exploitation. The fossil fuel industry not only destroys the climate, it hands out billions of dollars to executives every year while lobbying our government to prevent policies that would benefit the working class. And it's also local and state government policies right here in Connecticut, as for things, for example, that allow for single-family housing that hurts sustainability as well as middle and lower class people. In cities and towns around Connecticut, when rich property owners prevent multi-family housing from being built, they prevent the creation of more sustainable housing as well as homes for lower income people. Predominantly white, rich Connecticut citizens looking to consolidate property, wealth, and power could not be allowed to continue this unsustainable racist practice of putting pressure on local governments around the state. So I encourage you to all chant with me, divest UCONN.
Divest UCONN! 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 Divest UCONN!
A man on stilts led the march to the DEEP building. DEEP stands for Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. He held a sign that said, "America is my country, the earth is my home."
Climate justice! Now! Climate justice! Now!
Well, everyone, my name is Kat Morris. I'm a scholar activist representing CT Equity Now and UConn Collaborative Organizing. Yay! Oh, okay. Yay, go UCO. And we're here today marching for climate action and environmental justice because we need stronger environmental justice laws in this state now. Now! We need climate education that centers environmental justice now. But I want to add that strengthening our laws is one of many steps we must take immediately. It is not the end of the road, but the first start to dismantling a system that has made certain communities disposable. The first to sacrifice. But we need to talk about the fact that that sacrifice is always a choice. People like myself from environmental justice communities like Bridgeport and New Haven and Hartford and Stamford and Waterbury, we deserve the right to live without the public health crisis that is polluting our air and our water and our soil. We deserve the right to live and thrive without the violence of systemic racism and poverty. Not only do we deserve it, but we demand it. I want to talk about the fact that people from environmental justice communities, our communities across this state and across this country, are simply people. We are people with dreams, we are people with hopes, and we are people with goals for the future. We're people who deserve to dream of a life where we aren't gasping for air. We deserve to have a say in what happens to our environment in our communities. We deserve to have peace of mind and to know that we are protected because our lives matter. Denying us what we deserve as people, denying us that right to thrive, is a denial of our humanity. And that denial represents the constant choice between environmental racism and environmental justice. It is a choice to approve and renew polluting facilities in our communities. There will never be an acceptable amount of pollution. It is a choice to continue investing in fossil fuel industries. It is a choice to deprioritize climate resilience in EJ communities. It is a choice to build schools in FEMA flood zones. It is a choice to go into our communities and tell us what's best for us rather than to listen to what we have to say. And it is a choice to continue allowing these poisons to destroy the lives of our children and our people today and tomorrow. And lastly, it is always a choice to ignore and undermine the voices of Black and Indigenous people in climate and environmental spaces. Environmental racism is always a matter of choice, but so too is environmental justice. Now, everyone in the crowd, ask yourself, do you want your community to be free of pollution? Yes! Do you want breathable air, drinkable water, and swimmable beaches? Yes! Do you want fresh food to nourish your community? Yes! Safe homes to live in? Yes! Climate education for your children? Yes! Do you want the resources to steward your land? Yes! Well, I say yes too. And I believe that it is the responsibility of the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection to ensure that those needs are met at every single day. And to that matter, I believe it is a responsibility too of the Department of Transportation and the Department of Agriculture and the Department of Education and the Department of Public Health. It's the responsibility of every single commission and legislator in this state to choose environmental justice every single time. To those who believe that you're doing what you need to do, I need you here. I need you right here, standing with us, marching with us, fighting with us. I need resources allocated directly to communities so that can drive their own solutions. I need people with staffs and budgets to take care of this work so it's not just the responsibility of one or two well-intended employees. I need the people closest to the problem to have what they need to drive their own solutions. There's no way forward without each other. There is no climate justice without environmental justice. Yes. Yes. There is no change. There is no progress without structural and institutional transformation. Yes. And there is no time to waste. Environmental justice now and forever. Thank you.
The last stop was at the steps of the Capitol building.
Hi everyone, my name is Amelia Kearney. I'm a high school senior and a member of the Sunrise Connecticut leadership team, a youth-led organization focused on stopping climate change. I've been lucky enough to have lived in different parts of the U.S., and I've seen how climate change is affecting areas across the country. Last summer, I was camping near Salt Lake City, Utah, where the smoke from the wildfires was so dense you couldn't see the city from the surrounding mountains. A few years ago, I visited Lake Mead, where I could see the drastic drop in the water levels ingrained into the rock walls. And let's not forget the increasing storms we've been having here in Connecticut. These and other disasters are only going to become worse, and they will affect some communities more than others, leading to greater injustice and lack of equity. That is why climate justice is so important. As a young person, the climate crisis and environmental destruction are two of the biggest crises that my generation faces. I want all of us to have a future on an earth that still has beautiful, natural areas and that isn't constantly being hit with natural disasters. We need more people speaking up and fixing these problems, and that is why I am a climate activist. There is a lot of pressure on young people to solve the problems in the world, and sometimes it can be overwhelming. Sometimes it feels as though there's nothing we can do to to make a difference in the world and create change. But that isn't true. By being here today, standing at the Capitol, and asking for our legislators to act on climate this session, we are making a difference. It isn't always obvious right away, but speaking up for what matters to you, and for those who cannot, does make a difference. Even if you aren't old enough to vote yet, remember that there are so many other ways you can get involved. Whether that's something you're doing at home or joining an organization like Sunrise. The elections this year will be the first that I can vote in, and it's something I've been looking forward to for a long time. I know how hard it can be to watch what's going on in the world around you while also not being old enough to do anything about it. But just remember that it's important to vote and to make sure you do once you can, because it's a powerful way to make sure your voice is heard and to make sure you have a say in your country, town, or state. While the focus of today's march has been on the upcoming legislative session, I also want to talk about how important it is to act in individual ways. My mother has always taught me that it is important to walk the walk, not just talk the talk. What that essentially means is that as important as it is to ask corporations and the government to take the climate crisis seriously, we should also be doing what we can in our everyday lives to match what we are asking for. This will be different for everyone, but I want to emphasize that the little things do matter, even if they may sometimes seem insignificant. Conservation is also a really important part of climate action. On an individual level, I love being outside in the woods, especially hiking, and it is somewhere where I can go to escape from the crazy world, especially during the COVID pandemic. The natural areas that are left in Connecticut must be protected, not just because they are a key player in combating climate change or because they help to preserve biodiversity and provide habitats for other animals, but they must be protected so that in the future we still can enjoy nature. A future without natural areas would be damaging to our physical and mental well-being and drastically reduce the quality of life for everyone, regardless of who you are or where you come from. Connecticut, let's not make the irreversible mistake of not acting on climate because we don't have a second chance. Thank you.
Act on Climate Connecticut Legislature, we're coming for you tomorrow. Mother Earth is under attack. What do we do? Mother Earth is under attack. What do we do? What do we do when Mother Earth is under attack? Precisely.
Woo! Woo! Somebody, say something.
Yo soy Leticia Colenda Mejias. I'm a Latina, a mother, a grandmother, a neighbor, an employer, and a human that breathes air, drinks water, eats food, works to support my family, and needs shelter to survive. I'm certain, in fact, that we all need these things. Air, water, food, safe shelter, heat, light, and a way to afford these things. As a child, I was taught to stand for our freedoms, to stand for opportunities, for equal access, for a decent, respectable life. A life where we can take care of our families and build a future. To believe in something, to have hope and dreams. Climate change is trying to steal that from us all. Today I live with the realization that if we do not take action now, bold action, to help us avoid the worst of climate impacts, to create resilient communities, and to plan for a cleaner, safer tomorrow, there will not be enough of these simple necessities: air, water, food, safe shelter, or a way to sustain a livable future. Even sadder, the reality is that most people are uninformed on the true causes of climate change. They are unaware of what's coming, have no idea how to connect and participate in creating a safer future for us all, a livable future for our communities and our children. They are missing the opportunity to join us to act, to have these things, because they lack knowledge and information, and I don't think that's coincidence. Here's what we need to do right now, the things that I'm certain of, why I'm here with you today. We must take action and lead by speaking the truth about climate change. We must require the state agencies to meet the Global Warming Solutions Act to lower our emissions by 45% by 2030.
Yeah!
We must then go further and lower our emissions by 80% by 2050.
Yeah.
These are goals we can accomplish. And here's how. We must ensure that no one group bears the burden while another gets the benefit. We must intentionally plan to bring those who have been left behind in this transition to the table. Because knowledge is power, and that power must be shared. Combined, residential, commercial, and industrial buildings are the largest emitters of greenhouse gases in Connecticut and in the world. And we need more efficient buildings, workplaces, and homes. We must put our money and efforts to the things that we know will work, like thermal boundary improvements, air sealing, insulation, windows, and heating and cooling systems that run on non-fossil fuels. We must commit to these retrofits, and we must ensure our transition is just by offering workforce training programs for the people who are looking to change their lives and join the fight, or just to have a better future for us all. We must increase our action on installing heat pumps, induction stoves, to save families and businesses money, to stabilize our health, protect our grid from blackouts and brownouts, and grow our local economies. We must help people prepare to be resilient in this climate crisis by establishing a net zero stretch code. We must increase access to solar power because frankly in Connecticut, despite the $100 million a year that we spend on a clean energy transition, renters and low-income communities have left behind in that solar transition. And we should bump those solar systems and shared community solar against battery storage so that when there's a crisis or a storm, we don't go into the blackouts. We must ensure schools have access to cooling systems as our climate warms. And we must protect our most vulnerable populations, like children, elderly, disabled, and at-risk communities. We must end our stupid gas expansion policies. Connecticut has become a hub for dirty power plants, and we don't need that energy here. That energy is being sold to others, and we're sick of the pollute elsewhere policies. We want climate education for everyone. We want public climate education in all of our schools. And we are tired of the excuses and nonsense that there aren't enough resources to do this. It is not a lack of resources, it is a lack of willpower. We want to clean up transportation. We want our reduction to be reduced by 38%. We want legislators to take real action this session, passing true legislation to support climate action now. We want to protect our environmental justice communities. They are all over Connecticut, and it is our responsibility to look after those who cannot defend themselves. The time for increased emissions is over. The time for action is now. We demand it. Fine particulate matter air pollution is linked to cardiovascular disease, cancer, asthma, and increased lung infections in elderly and at-risk populations. These pollutants in our air come directly from the burning of fossil fuels. Everyone needs to know this. We have the right to know, to take action collectively together. I am thankful for all of the advocates who have come out today to stand in honor of the most important battle that we are having on Earth. Not just here, everywhere. As an expert in environmental justice, climate science, and building science, I'm here to tell you that we have all the solutions we need right now for a clean energy future. And all we must do is to continue to demand action from our leaders. We all must work together. We must call our legislators, show up at meetings, go talk to the people at DEEP, participate in opportunities like CJAC, the Connecticut Environmental Justice Oversight Council, where our voices can be heard. This is our future. How dare anyone make it short or unpleasant for us? We want climate action. We want it. 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 Will we take no? No. Please, after this, remember, this is the start of the movement, not the end of the movement. It will take all of us. We must demand that our children and our families have the right to know the causes of climate change, how to act, how to participate, and our leaders need to know as well. Thank you.
Thank you for coming, everyone. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you to all. Oh, it looks really awesome here. Anyway, this is our list of legislative priorities that we're going to bring into the Capitol, to give to the governor, and give to the leadership. Who wants to come